Not now. Not now. I have a webinar at 3. हाँ उसके बाद
Shamul sent, before I sent you the WhatsApp something.
Have lots and lots of data, unstructured, structured varieties there. A lot of data is being analyzed, but the bigger question is how does this connect actually back to your business or to building a better customer experience for your customers? So today we have two great speakers, or a panel of speakers actually. So we have Ratnesh Mehra, who's the customer experience strategy and transformation leader from Oracle. And we have Sumit Vermani, SVP and Head Marketing and Communication from Infosys. And he's also going to be joined by Sanjay Sahe, who's the AVP and Global Head Digital Marketing and Marketing Automation at Infosys. So a great panel, and the structure is going to be that we have Ratnesh going first, followed by the Infosys panel, and then we take questions. But as always, feel free to post your questions in the chat window as the speakers are sharing their thoughts with you. And once the session is done, they will try to answer as many of those questions on the chat as possible. And then we will take consolidated questions maybe for 5-10 minutes at the end as well. So with this, I would like to also mention a few housekeeping thoughts. If you're not the presenter, please stay on mute. Please, you don't need to use your video, so that will save you some bandwidth. You will have to use the computer for voice, and so you do need a decent broadband connection for that. And with that, I would like to hand over the floor to Ratnesh.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible, everyone? Jesse, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, sure. So let me just share my screen. Is it visible? Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, I think your screen is up. You will need to go into slideshow mode though.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. Yeah,
Perfect.
you can see the screen.
Sure. So hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in. And so for 20 to 25 minutes, let me just take a window onto why data, customer data is very important. So for some of you who are on the third such series, so the series is started day before yesterday, so who are gone through my colleagues Wendy and Madhukar day before yesterday, and yesterday would have got a broader context around. But for those people who are joining in for the first time, just let me get a very big context on this. That in terms of a customer experience, where we're talking about broadly the three pillars, which are around marketing, sales, and service. It is very, very important that the data interchange, the handshakes happen between these three pillars to make one meaningful customer identity and the journeys. And the reason for this is because today the customers are driven by choice. Whatever way we want them to react, they do that plus n plus 2 kind of, and they find ways to identify that. And if you typically look into a customer buying journey today, when they go through the 7 stages, which is evaluate, consider, buy, receive, use, recommend, and serve, what we have realized is today any buying behavior, say for example, starting from considering where we have marketing, sends out a communication or digital offers, they go through various channels, they go through various blogs, they go through various various sources of information, and then they go to the evaluation process, buying process, receiving process, and even when they buy the process at the handover from the marketing, they use it, they recommend it, and then the infinity cycle runs across. They can choose any kind of channel. They can start their journey from one channel, and they can start online, they can go offline, and hence it becomes very important for organizations to ensure that the data which is sitting in silos or across functions are shared, because customer lives in micro moments now. So you can do a fantastic journey till say stage 4, and then there is a break, and the entire customer movement or happiness goes bad. So it's very critical. So from business perspective, from the time of an acquisition, on how digital marketing programs influence consumer behavior, how to scale support across multi-channel, and the channels are just exploding for all we are aware of. There's so many ways now today we are able to reach out to the customers. And then how do we action the customer? I think that's very important. That we have all this data in silos, we connect them, and how do we create insights out of it? And finally, how do we make that to take business decisions or improve our revenues or bottom lines? Uh, just to explain this entire context in a data form, what we typically see is the front office activities, which are your typical marketing activities from an acquisition state. And you have agencies also who have a lot of your data in terms of what has gone through, what has been received. Then you have this entire data leads to customer acquisition, and then this data sits into a variety of your back office systems, which could be your ERPs, your loyalty programs, your service, your HR, CRM. Now, what is more important is how do we use this data and run a 360-degree cycle with making the customer life easier. And what's happening on the right-hand side is there is now a plethora or explosion of data which is coming, where we need to listen to the same customer, because what we have is a very limited set of demographic profiles. So you now seeing channels like omni-channel and IoTs, you have social data, you have machines data, you have medical devices, you have now explosion of data which is coming on to you from the social. And these all drive the use and experience behavior, because this gives deep insights onto the customers. We know 50 more attributes of that customer behavior than what we know, which was on the left hand side of the quadrant. And what we need to do is we need to use this data to engage and amplify these same customers on the social network channels, and promotes, because we all understand these customers, promotes and advocacy is the best way of customer retention and acquiring new customers. So that's what we call in our paralines, first party data, a second party data, and a third party data, all married into giving one seamless customer experience. So the important thing is that you get all this data connected with each other, IoT data, third-party data, behavioral data, and what it does is it gives you a connected experience across marketing, commerce, sales, and service. It makes a lot of sense, because once your data is connected, research report says that it does lead to your very high customer retention, higher contribution to revenues, so it makes this thought I would do is quickly our art of possible and see how in a way all this data can work into a seamless journey. So the example here is this lady Anita, who is a 33-year-old married female living in Mumbai, expecting her first child, and with her husband just starting looking at options for baby furniture. Now, how do we take from a pre-purchase to a purchase and then to a post-purchase? How does a journey can look like using all sets of data, all channels together, is something which I want to do. So there could be a bad experience, right? That typically, is this her shopping experience with you, where she starts searching, her website doesn't appear, she finds something online, she's frustrated because the product is not giving the products, there's no recommendations, the website doesn't know actually the person. uh, there are a lot of offers coming which has no directions or no relevance to what she wants to purchase. There's no support. She has some questions, but there's nobody on the web chat who can clarify those questions for her. She goes to an app. She actually finds something, and then later down the line, she finds out from a call saying that that product itself has a 6 months waiting. So a very frustrated or bad experience. So this is something in a combination or in some particular micro moments we all see, we all experience. So what I thought was try and give an art of possible onto what could be a possible journey for Anita. So this is uh, integrating 3x experience for Anita. Uh, the same stuff. She is starting to look out for a baby furniture because she's expecting. So she shares her panic with friends on Facebook, and many provide advice that uh, she wants to look where can she get some advice on. So there's a friend who basically forwards Anita a link to a new baby site. She goes there, she starts browsing the section. Now this is not about this particular site, but it's another site called First Cry, who's basically trying to get Anita on. And so they know the behavioral data, they look at people, they look at females who are looking for this kind of a data, and they basically place, we all from a marketer perspective know about this. She sees an ad on the right hand side, she clicks there, she drills down to this lifestyle site, and she engages with the relevant content. She watches there's a video out there, and she signs up for a home nursery brochure. The next day, she receives an email with nursery design ideas, which she loves. She browses the idea, is prompted to download the design app. So there's a design app on the website. She uploads the room dimensions to the app, and she receives recommendations on what could possible furniture she can buy. She loves the furniture recommendations, but wants to see them in store. Sorry, that weekend. Sorry for the mistake. She visits the lifestyle store. So now this is where from an online to an offline with her husband Raj. A store associate pulls up her online history, purchases, and preferences. So the offline store absolutely knows what she has gone through on an online in terms of research. She notes the couple's preferences and places their order. Now she also see that Raj has been browsing online for a digital camera. Raj confirms that the camera will be used to take baby photos. The associates ask Raj if he would like to see the camera. The associate has access to rich collateral to inform Raj of key features, all on her iPad. Excited for the new experience, Raj adds the camera to the order. So what we're seeing is an additional buy-in which happens, and Raj and Anita pay for the products and leave the store. They share the purchase with friends. We all do that. We share our experiences, and it says that it was a great experience, and he posts it on the Facebook. Now, within an hour, they receive an order confirmation and shipping date. The next day, products arrive at their apartment. Now, she has a question about the furniture assembly, and she needs help. She pulls up the mobile app and searches the knowledge base. So she this agent walks her through the assembly. And end of the session, the agent also does a cross sell and offers a 10% off bedding for that week. There's a discount going on. Anita loves the relevance and purchases a baby bedding set right away. She's thrilled with the nursery and shares it onto the Twitter. Uh, so short story, but basically if you see the entire journey from marketing acquisition to buying to service to repurchase to cross sell, grabbing opportunities, integrating between online and offline, entire journey was very seamless, very connected, and all that's powerful because the data between the marketing acquisition, the campaigns, the sales reps, as well as the service reps are all integrated. They all have access to information, and this you can create a seamless customer journey. And what you see was very, very relevant pointers on how these journeys can help on cross-sell, upsell opportunities, and obviously making a very, very delighted customer experience. If you go by that during the buying behavior, some of the key things which what we saw was compelling mobile experiences, scalable solution which you could do on the app and also on the website. Obviously, if you look from the delivery perspective, providing shoppers with the relevant information on the channel. So we saw app, online, offline, making it easier for the customers to interact, and obviously it makes a key benefit in terms of customer satisfaction and reducing your cost. In terms of services, there was a personalized low-cost services, there was the chat services, there was a call center interaction. But with relevant data, you can increase the service agent productivity, increase customer satisfaction. You could see some of the customers of Oracle who have basically benefited across while using some of these solutions. Finally, I think very important, social advocacy. We all are very social, and how can we target and harness the social channels and the data from the sales, service, and marketing, and basically ensure that social becomes another one of the channel. It also helps you to increase the reach and brand awareness and advocacy, not to mention that it increases the customer satisfaction and loyalty. So in terms of Oracle, what we have come out is a line of three. We start with a connected data. Basically, we're saying how do we connect all these data together on a common platform, build intelligence around it. So this is where the entire concepts of AI, IoTs, and behavioral analytics is coming in, and that helps you to give a connected experience across marketing, commerce, sales, and service solutions. And on top of it, there are specific industry solutions for specific industries which help stitch all this together to give one smarter CX customer journey. I would not spend a lot of time there, but basically what it does is you can see, right, even in Indian context, whether you have partners or distributors or drivers, your own e-commerce websites, your sales engines, and then your sales leaders or your sales reps on the ground, all could have a connected experience. And by the way, this is not only, while I gave an example from a B2C perspective, this is also very relevant from both a B2B as well as a B2C context. So while there is a B2C kind of a context, this is also very relevant where manufacturing or organizations who do from B2B business are also able to do the entire journey across various ways, various channels, various interactions to come out with end-to-end customer journeys. And as you see, in terms of in a B2B, the partners or the distributors in Indian context are very important, very relevant. Building loyalties within even a B2B is something which is happening on a big scale. And obviously in a B2B context, account management and sales is very, very important. Providing tools like configure price quotes, online ordering even of complex products, engineering design products is possible today and seamlessly integrated with your backend system data, which is like your ERPs, whether it's an SAP or Oracle or anything else. So in terms of service, I think I mentioned that it's very, very important because today in terms of service, customers have what we call as organic channels. They can go and access through and reach out to us through any of these channels. And these organic channels, what we're seeing is now in terms of innovations, going from a normal call centers to concepts like video chat, intelligent routing. They are knowledge driven. So what we saw even in the example, whether it's on your website or you're on self-service or you're into your retail stores, there are knowledge which is smart, it is adaptive, it is giving you the knowledge and insights coming from the data, which is basically in terms of both behavioral data as well as your first party data. And finally, what we're talking about is in terms of automations, which is the concepts of connected services, robotics, or augmented reality, which is now what's happening in terms of innovations in customer experience. Oracle provides modular solutions across all these stacks, and we would love to. Now, the third important thing, which I've just briefly touched upon, this was something which was covered in detail yesterday, is that we are the largest audience data marketplace in the world in terms of data cloud. This is where your behavioral data or preferences of largest profiles, the 3 billion global profiles, are the largest profiles which are available in India in terms of very, very targeted marketing to identify the right set of customers or profiles which you would want to do precision-based marketing on this data cloud services. This is the complete Oracle Marketing Cloud architecture. So right from data as a services to campaign orchestration, whether it's in a B2B or a B2C platform, down to your digital experience management, onto your content sites, as well as onto your optimizations and insights, which include analytics as well as your website testings in terms of personalization. The entire stack is available. Some examples in India, which I just wanted to very quickly run through. So Mercedes in India uses an integrated CX solution. So right from the leads which come from their own walk-ins to the dealers to even sites like Carvale and Cardeko, to how it takes it into their channels, into the sales reps, and then make sure it seamlessly moves into the sales process and then into the service process, back and integrated with the recipes. So they all run this entire integrated CX solution. We all know it's the largest online store, and it's very, very relevant from a customer experience perspective, because in their own words, every experience is every order is actually like an experience, and they have built an integrated CX platform which ensures that they've set up some very strict SLAs and ensuring that the customers, whichever orders are there, they're all connected, whether on social, whether on their call centers, also onto and when the delivery takes place, the entire information is very, very seamless. So they went on to this platform and they had some very, very tangible benefits around what they achieved through this. So some of the stats would say the complaint ratios went down to less than 1%, 60% improvement in NPS, and delivery reattempts reduced by 42%, and the delivery times went down to 1 hour. So there's another example is Taj Group. You're all aware of how hotel industry works and how Taj has basically able to seamlessly integrate their loyalty program, their website, as well as when you start doing booking from the hotel, understanding the guest data, behavioral data, and present one hotel as an experience, including their feedbacks, including the digital ways of ensuring that they have always deliver as promised, as per their commitment. So in a classic solution of how a customer integrated experience has helped them across. So there were some of the few examples from India. There are quite a few out there, and with that, I'll be available on chat, but I hand it over back to you, Jesse or Sumit. I think you can take over from here. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you so much, and that was awesome. And
I need to hand the control
so much.
back.
I'm sorry. Yes, you do. Thank you so much. And there are questions for you on the chat window. A
Sure,
couple
I'll
of
take.
them are about starting the journey and also identifying which are the key attributes. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Sumit Vermani. And with him, he has Sanjay Sahay, who's the head of digital, and they're going to tandem this session. So over to you, Sumit. Ratnesh, you'll need to go back onto mute. Yeah, thank you. Sumit, I can see your screen. If you could go to full screen mode. Yeah, perfect. And we can't hear you yet. Sumit, we can't hear you or Sanjay. You've moved to your second slide.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, but a bit faint. If you could increase the volume or come closer to your mic.
All right, is it better now?
Yeah, much better.
All right. Hey, Jesse, first of all, thanks for inviting us to be a part of this debate. I think I like Ratnesh set it out for all of us. It's clearly a massive challenge and an incredible opportunity that each one of us are dealing with at this point in time. And for the benefit of the larger group of people listening on the call, the request that the team had of us was to really share our own experience as an organization in really surmounting this challenge and what learnings we've had along the way that we can possibly share with each one of you so that as you embark on this journey as you perfect this each other's experience. Now, Sanjay joins me as well as the head of our digital marketing and automation platform. Basically, he's the guy who manages the data engine room for us. And he'll be available to also specifically deep dive into the specific day-to-day data management challenges that we deal with as we manage the millions of data inputs that come away from a whole variety of channels for the organization of our size and scale. Uh, as I kickstart the complexity and highlight what this means for us, I'm sure most of you are aware that just a little over a year ago, for the first time globally, the internet usage through mobile overtook the desktop usage. Now, what has it really meant for marketeers like us would become evident from some of the data points I'm going to just talk about right now. If we talk about the year 2017, uh, every single day, there have been a little over 5 billion Google searches. There have been 4.3 billion Facebook messages that get posted every single day. 4 million hours of video gets uploaded every single day. 650 plus million of tweets get posted every single day. And one would assume that with all the witnessing, the traditional good old text messages or emails would have actually floundered or become lesser. But the data is quite the opposite. We had 22 billion text messages in 2017 and a little over nearly 270 billion of emails every single day. Now, as marketeers, what does this really mean for all of us? Because these are really the sources of data that we deal with, analyze, and try to make sense of uh, every day. And therefore, what I want to talk about in the next 15 minutes essentially is divide this session across three distinct learnings that we're going to share. One, what are the challenges that uh, we as a group of people deal with when we try and analyze data in our organizations to elevate customer experience. So here's something that some of you would be aware of or would have experienced if you have attempted to run a data or analytics project in your organization. Nearly 2/3 of these projects don't go anywhere. And the fact also is that with all this data coming our way, a large majority of that data is not used by the organization as we structure our customer experience. Now, why is that the case? That's primarily the case because we as marketeers don't make the effort upfront to find those data. We do not articulate our data requirements upfront, primarily because we are starting the conversation with data and not starting the conversation what we call the real problem at hand. So the biggest issue that when we attempted addressing this problem a couple of years ago, one of the biggest questions we asked ourselves was, what does success look like? What problem are we really trying to solve? And therefore, to address that problem, what are the milestones we need? What are the processes we need to change? What people skill sets we demand? And what tech investments we need to make? Now, to bring all this to life, I want to give you a real example so that you can relate to this a little better. Uh, and I've picked up a more consumer-facing example of the larger diversity of crowd that might be on this webinar. Uh, some of you would know that Infosys sponsors the ATP World Tour, the men's professional tour of tennis the world over. Now, why did we decide to do that? Was it just another passion of ours because we love tennis, or was it a little more than that? And that's where it comes down to the business problem that I want to take you back to, which we encountered a couple of years ago. So we have multiple sources of data, like any one of you on the call, and we were looking at our customer satisfaction data at one end, our brand survey data at the other, a Google search pattern at from a third dimension, our social media engagement, and obviously a very important source of information, which is what our sales guys were telling us. And we were looking at our books in terms of what part of our business is growing at the desired pace and which one needs a bit of a nudge. And one thing we realized from all that data was that when it comes to the buying centers in our business, which is the traditional technology leaders as well as the emerging business leaders who were buying technology from us, what they were buying repeatedly from us was something we were extremely well known for, which is the core part of any IT services business. That's application development and maintenance, enterprise services, and so on. However, when it came to emerging tech, and at that point of time, analytics, big data and analytics was possibly at its peak, and it continues to be though, the kind of opportunities we were being invited on the table were not in line with our desired aspirations, and the growth of that business needed a nudge. And therefore, we realized that one of the core reasons is that our brand is not being seen as a distinct player in this space, and we need to do something to really elevate our brand and our brand experience for this specific target group. So that was a business problem that we started with, looking at all this data. Now the question was, now that we have a good sense of the business problem, how do we address it? And that's where we went about picking up a platform which gives us not just mass visibility, but a great opportunity to really demonstrate data and analytics as expertise through a publicly available experience. So we joined hands with the ATP, which was sitting on 25 years of tennis data since 1981. We analyzed 12 million data points for them across 85,000 matches around the world. We applied not just our analytic capabilities, but also our artificial intelligence capabilities to really demonstrate to the world at large, to really grow the fan base and to really activate fan engagement, where 90% of the fans for the sport actually watch this through virtual channels, which is outside the stadium. Uh, so while it did wonders for the sport over the last few years in driving engagement, what it did for us, it gave us a globally available platform to demonstrate to our target group how, if this can be done for an extremely complex global sport, the same use case can be applied for their little analytical problem at their end. So the question here is, there was a problem well defined, there were data sources tabbed, and there was a customer experience recreated, both for our client as well as the end consumer, to demonstrate the analytical capabilities of the platform at hand. And that's the approach one needs to take when one's thinking about leveraging data for redefining consumer experience. Now I'll move to a very simple framework that we evolved over a period of time when we are looking at managing data for us problems like I just articulated. Easy recollection and application. The A stands for aggregating data. Now, there are multiple tools that all of us use at different points to get our data from. There are CRM systems in the organization, even analytical. All these data sources are available at different places in the organization. The question is, how are we as marketeers really tapping them and aggregating them at a single point to really make sense of it? Once the aggregation is in place, the question then is, how do you create a sanitized data repository which is accurate, complete, and consistent? There has to be a single source of truth, and that is where data sanitization plays an important role, and therefore you need to build an infra to make that happen. The third dimension possibly is the most important, and this is where no amount of tool or aggregation is going to help you if you're not making the effort to contextualize data for your specific use case. And every single organization needs to do it differently. And there's a need what we call a customer data platform, which brings in intelligent correlation between different data sources. It brings in contextualized semantics, and that's where the actual millions of data points make relevant sense, because here is it when you can possibly know. And let me give you an example here for an easy understanding. There is a client that has possibly come on your website and is navigating a certain section of your website. How quickly can you actually make sense of that navigation and give an alert to your sales leader to say, hey, this activity is happening on our website over the last 2 days. Here seems to be an opportunity, and here's a person you should get in touch with. You'll be able to do that if you have a sense of their social media feed, their website feed, the sales conversation feed, so you can contextualize and make that intelligent deduction. And lastly, after doing all that, if you're not able to offer democratized access to the insights, then the very effort is not productive enough. And to make the democratization happen, data has to get out of the engine room and onto the desktops of the users. The skill set of understanding and analyzing data should be solved in the engine room, so that the user who is consuming it actually has very limited dependency on a data skill set to actually make that data actionable. So that's really the four points I wanted to touch upon, which is when you're thinking about
Can those who are not the presenters please mute themselves, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. So that's the framework we should think about when you have a well articulated problem and you're looking at building a data management framework to address that or any other problem. At this point, what I would like to do is just hand you over to Sanjay, who's dealing with this problem day in and day out. And Sanjay has his own learnings on the possible mistakes one needs to avoid as one aims to build a data management framework. So he'll possibly walk you through his own experiences and can also give you a sense of things you should do and, more importantly, things that you shouldn't. Sanjay?
Thanks. Hi, everybody. While Sumit talked about the ABCD framework, and that gives you a very strong and robust approach to create, a customer experience across the touch points you have for your business. Now, when you start the journey, the amount of data you deal with, the kind of variables, attributes you deal with can become overwhelming. If you look at customer journey, there are multiple customer journeys with the same business, right? Before sale, during sale, after sale. If you are in a B2B scenario, you might have multiple buying centers you're running separate conversations with. So even prioritizing across those customer journeys, impact on revenue of those customer experiences, all this runs around the kind of data which you aggregate, the ABCD framework which we're talking about. So there are certain things which you need to take care of. Okay, so there are a couple of points here. The first one is adding metadata, which is adding content on content, right? When you go to the C phase, which is contextualizing, all our technology, all our touch points will add information which will not become actionable or useful if we do not have a context added to it. To give you an example, everybody would look at, most of you would have looked at your website analytic report, okay, which would give you top 10 pages, not just in an ice, nothing to anybody. Because these are the popular pages. But if I have to run my communication program, if I have to create a customer experience, a profitable user journey, I need to understand, for example, what are Fortune 500 companies liking on my website. Now, these top 10 pages, I have to dig deeper, figure out what it talks about. It takes a lot of effort. Now, imagine if you would have added a little bit of information on the page as well as the content assets which are there, which is the meta information. It applies to retail industry or the real estate industry. It applies to CIO level decision makers. It is middle of the funnel content. Now it starts making sense to the end user who's consuming that information. So every piece of content, touch point, you need to attach a context using tags, right? The small bit of information goes a long way in helping you derive insights from all those interactions which are happening. The next one is not just consuming of data, right? You need to co-create for a richer data store. It is not a central thing somewhere to go ahead and provide the information and reports for you. You're working with across multiple departments. You're working with sales. You're working with your R&D. You're working with your delivery teams, production teams. Everybody can have a piece of information which can lead to a lot better insights and better customer experience. So if a visitor has come to my website, there is a company A, now marketing has certain amount of information, but at the same time, sales has information around the kind of conversation we have, whether it is hot, warm, cold, exploratory, which area. Now that piece of information, imagine being available at the same time when you're looking at the interaction. That co-created ecosystem which you have, the data store which you have, is far more valuable. The third one is death by alert. Everybody has a habit of setting up alerts. prospect visits the website, let the sales guy get an alert. Okay, traffic goes up on the website, you get an alert. The point is not real-time information, it is right-time information. So you have to be very careful. So if company is coming on my website, that is fine. I don't need to send alert every time. But imagine sales guy and sales guy setting up an alert, fine, when a prospect by the name of this working in this company comes to the website, tell me. Now that is the right kind of information. You're not killing him by alerts. When that person comes to alert him. Or anomaly detection, which you do. If the run rate is certain visits per day on the website, or a certain number of interactions across touch point, a company which you have touch base at the website, touch base at an event, and a face-to-face meeting in a customer roundtable. Now, all this information coming together gives you a alert saying that, okay, there seems to be intensity. Now, here is the information which you need. Or you're going to meet a prospect, the dashboard gives you all relevant information. More about right time, not real time. This is also very important. The technology changing rapidly. You need to have your eyes and ears open to and a lot of startups can give you an edge in terms of managing data or analytics. We work with multiple of them. For example, there is Ponzu, which is in early stage, Bombora. Now it is more or less stabilized. 2 years back, so the kind of data they provide or analysis they provide, even looking at what's enabled interaction, they're not very stable companies out there, the early stage ones that we're talking about. So you need to keep an eye open because they can give you competitive edge, can help you experiment, they are flexible, and help you finally, the most critical one, people. Technologies change very, very rapidly. Every second month, you have a new one coming out on the table. People don't change that fast. So ensuring that they come along with you on the journey, they understand what you're trying to achieve, and the value is co-created, you have to take them along with you. Otherwise, the adoption would be low and it's a 100% sure shot recipe for disaster. So if you take care of this couple of points, I think you'll be well set in managing the journey, the customer experience. I think from my side, this is all which I have. Passing it back to Jesse.
Thanks, Sanjay. So with that, we're open for questions. And one question that I wanted to address, and we don't have time for too many, so put them in the chat window. One question which I wanted you to address, either you or Sumit or Ratnesh, is somebody's asked, so how do we go about the process of identifying the attributes that are most important to our customers? So you talked about right time, what's relevant also, right? So, but what's the process of actually figuring that out? Ratnesh, we can only, yeah.
Okay, so I was waiting for Sanjay to give a view. I think the most important, see, there are 3 types of attributes. Some of this in customer experience, I think you get to any experience, a customer experience engagement team, they would tell you by functions, by sales, service, marketing, we have our own sets of functions, and those functions have defined CX attributes, right? So NPS, you ask a service person, it'll say NPS, you talk about marketing, they will talk about relevant acquisition parameters. Then there are very specific industry specific attributes, which is comes from a consumer goods attributes would be very different than a manufacturing industry CX attributes, right? Or it could also based on online, offline business. A pure online will have a very different kind of attributes. So in terms of, I think, to any organization where I think what we need to look at it is what is, first of all, what is the key issue at this point of time. I think to boil the ocean is generally never recommended. You could derive an entire roadmap, but say, if you say service is my issue, or you say revenue is my issue, right? Or customer satisfaction as an issue. Then once you define the domain area where you have an issue, then we can identify and go down and say, okay, these are the sets of things which we want to do. These are the things we want to aspire. Now, aspiration typically comes from looking at what the best in class industry is doing, your competitors are doing, and that's where again some of the organizations, consulting organizations, or the solution providers help you out in terms of looking at benchmark data and say, where do I want to achieve and how do I want to achieve that. So that's how you start coming out with attributes. So it is not a straight answer, but it's how methodically you can arrive at 5 key attributes which are relevant for your domain, which will give you the immediate benefit, and then there are short-term, mid-term, and long-term benefits. I think that's how typically we should run a CX attribute definitions.
Sanjay, do you want to take that as well?
Sure, Jesse. So let me, so Ratnesh has given a very, a very robust framework and approach to look at it. Let me bring it down to the transactional level to get a, example out there. If I want to reach out to people working in retail industry located out in US who are in the CIO role and they have Oracle installed in their organization. Now, this is a simple statement when you're going to market for demand generation and you want to sell. And then you say people who are in these organizations are having pain point A, B, C, and D, and this is how we solve it, and they need to experience this, the way we solve this problem. Then if you look at this whole statement, it tells you what attributes are required. Right, you need to connect with people who are based in. So geolocation is required, industry information is required, role information is required, function information is required, and what technology they have installed is required. Now, the moment you start looking from this lens, you would know what kind of data is required for that. Interaction experience, then your past, for every industry and every company has their own attributes for experience. For example, if events is what helps you move the needle, then people who are going to attend a certain event, an industry event you want to speak to, that becomes another attribute, right? So that's a typical approach you will take when you're trying to create a customer experience out there.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, the question was, any perspectives on long duration sales and subscription based sales? What would be the customer experience specifically for them?
Oh, okay. So let me take it. So see, in terms of long sales cycle process, and I think both of us are coming from IT, from Infosys, and us, we would be aware of that. Some of sales cycles are typically long. I think one of the key things here is around information and the data. Where at each step there are multiple stakeholders involved, there are multiple people who are involved in that entire sales process, and I think that there's more context from a sales perspective. What is very important here is to have a 360-degree view of the customer and the depth of information at every stage available to everyone, I think, and that's where even the customers, they don't mind, they really don't look at somebody coming in after 3 months in a sales stage and then re-repeating what they did with some set of people 2 months back, and vice versa, right? So an engaged sales cycle or a methodology, when any organizations with a sales process follow, there's a typical sales methodology. One of the very, very key informations, and that's where I think some of the CRM or Salesforce automation systems come into play, is to provide a relevant storehouse of information which is then enhanced, enriched right through the sales cycle, so that the customer sees, value and an enriched experience every time there is an interaction, so that when you reach at the end of the sales stage and you're ready to shake hands, you are actually very confident about that you're signing up with the right party.
Sanjay, do you have a view?
Okay, so see, this is now it is a very generic thing which we are talking about right now. So I will not get too much of specifics out there, but a couple of points on the long duration sales. The data management is around the buying centers, because typically you will not have one buying center. The more information you have around the buying center, the important what role each buying center plays. For example, the business side, procurement, IT, finance, legal, there are multiple roles within a sales cycle. So each one of them have their own behavior, their own information requirement. So yes, you need to have a CDP, as we were talking about, ensuring that those things are captured. And the interaction is over a long duration of time, right? So which means your system should have the contextual memory to take it forward without a human intervention. So if you have defined your sales cycle right from discovery to sign up and then post-sale loyalty and advocacy, and at each stage your system has to be configured. So discovery stage, for example, is more advertising technology, correct? Getting the people into the funnel. So right data management to be the ability to target the right set of guys. Search, for example, evolving every second day. More than 50% of the search queries are unique when they're typed onto Google, driven mostly by mobile. Similarly, there are watering holes which can give you attributes, whether it's customer affinity categories, you can pick that up, or there are behavioral categories, past purchase information, all that which defines a proper persona of your customer and helps you target better on those attributes. That is your ad tech area, when the interest is shown and they're willing to do business with you. So over 3-4 years, it is a very, very rigorous process which you need to follow in managing the data and the interactions and how the contextual information is saved across the buying centers and interacting on it. Now, it is still at a 70,000 feet level, but just to give you a flavor, if you go more specific on it, yes, then you can pick up different areas, how you want to store the contextual information and take it forward. Subscription sales is a completely different beast altogether. Subscription sales, when you're looking at it, depending on the product category, whether it is impulse, non-impulse, who it is targeting, or the selling of a subscription of on Ghana.com on mobile is very different from a religious app on mobile or a newspaper subscription online. So, and if the ticket size is low, the importance is how and what context you throw up your offer to that person, right? And if the person has experienced your offer but not bought it, and the retargeting, remarketing, the nurturing campaigns which you can run or offers which you can make, open time, personalization and emails, those things starts playing in. But at the core of all these two use cases is your understanding of the customer, why they buy, how they buy, what information is required to close the sale, and who all are involved is important. If that is available with you, you'll be able to orchestrate the user journey.
Okay, with this we come to the end of our time as well, and I think it's awesome, and we learned a lot. And I'd like to thank Sumit also for the ABCD framework, which is a very good structured way to look at the CX experience. So thanks to all of you for joining us. And as you know, this was the third in a 3 series of webinars. So we will send you the links and you can look at the recordings for all 3. And that will be on our Let's Talk CX microsite. So thank you so much and have a great weekend.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.